Hey everybody, we're going to be talking about statute of limitations when it comes to debt, but today we're going to be primarily talking about student loan debt. We're going to talk about statute of limitations and all the things around that because there are a lot of people with student loan debt. So without further ado, let's do this. Okay, the question is there statute of limitations on student loan debt? Well, first off, before we start that, let's get into what a statute of limitations is. When collecting a debt, wait, let's stop. None of this is financial advice. I'm not a financial professional. I'm just a dude with a bro hawk and a dream. And thanks for hitting that subscribe button. All right. When collecting a debt, a statute of limitations refers to how long a creditor has to sue for repayment. If the statute of limitations expires, a creditor can't sue you, but that doesn't mean your student loan debt disappears. The loan's holder may still be able to collect that debt, though it can't use the court system to do so. Okay, so that is very, very important. It also drastically hurts your credit score. Don't stop paying loans waiting for the statute to pass. Okay, so think about that. Don't stop paying loans waiting for the statute to pass. You will be years into student loan default before it does, and there's no guarantee you won't be sued. But if default has already happened, understanding the loan statute of limitations could protect you in court from debt collectors. Okay, so very, very important to remember. If you've already stopped paying on your student loan debt, the statute of limitations does come into play in many court cases. But again, remember, your credit score is getting hurt as that's happening. All right, it says, how long is the statute of limitations on student loans? Well, for debts with written contracts, the statute of limitation ranges from 3 to 10 years, depending on the state. 6 years is the most common statute of limitations for debts like private student loans, with 22 states using this term, according to the nonprofit In Charge Debt Solutions. It says typically your loans are subject to the statute of limitations for the state you live in, but if you're sued, the court may use a different statute based on where the lawsuit was filed or language in your loan's paperwork. That's very important to always hold on to your loan paperwork, and that could be a myriad of reasons. If the company suing you is located in a different state than you, or depending on where the loans were signed, there's all kinds of different ways they can move the court cases around, okay? So again, refer to your loan documents. It says, when does the statute of limitations start? It says, statute of limitations start dates also depend on state law and may be open to interpretation. Typically, a loan statute would start with one of the following events. One of them would be the last payment you made. The last payment you made could be the start of the date. The next one would be the first payment you missed. Okay, and again, you'd have to go to your loan docs. Then the third way would be when your loans defaulted. And I'm going to explain this one. Default timelines vary for private loans. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says the average length is 120 days, but loans can also enter default after missing a single payment. And again, that's in your loan docs where they say verbiage like your loan is not considered late until it is past due by 15 days, or it may be 120 days, okay? Because official default is the start of these kind of proceedings. Now, what happens after the statute of limitation passes? And guys, by the way, I'm going to link this article below so you guys can read it yourself. What happens after the statute of limitation passes? If a creditor does not know the statute has expired, it can still take you to court. Don't ignore a summons about your debt. You can present a defense that your student loans should be considered time-barreled, quote unquote, or no longer collectible based on the statute of limitations. So that's really important. Keep all of your documents together so you can present your case before a judge. Even if the court agrees with you, your creditor may still be able to contact you about the debt, depending on your state's laws, but it wouldn't have access to collection tactics a court judgment could have enabled, like garnishing your wages or placing a lien on property you own. Now, a little side note, they use all kinds, just because they're calling you a certain way, doesn't mean they're doing things legally and right or morally. So you have to be on top of your state's laws on collections, okay? That's very, very important, okay? Just because they're a big company doesn't mean they always do things right. So you need to be on top of that. Maybe I'll do a video about that later. It says, can you restart the statute of limitations on student loans? It is possible to restart the statute of limitations on student loans. Like the statutes themselves, actions that do this vary on a state-to-state basis, but they may include, okay, here we go, paying any amount towards the loan. So if you were to pay any amount towards the loan, this could be a way that you restarted the statute of limitations. So just be aware of that. That whole time clock, anything, you put money towards it, it could start over. How about promising to, in writing, to repay the debt? That could very well restart, in the court's eyes, the time clock for the statute of limitations. And then acknowledging that you owe the debt. If you acknowledge that you owe the debt, either with recording or with documents, and again, seek legal help in these matters to make sure this information is correct. I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a dude with a brohawk and a dream. But when you acknowledge that you owe the debt, that very well could also restart the timeline. And then lastly, should you try and settle your student loans? Now again, this is very, you want to make sure that you have proper legal advice before you start doing this, because you don't want to find yourself in court with a collection agency and lose because you didn't have all the right legal advice, okay? So always consult an attorney. So should you try and settle your student loans? It says once the statute of limitation passes, a creditor will likely be more open to accepting a student loan settlement for less than you owe, but there may not be much upside in doing so. Excuse me. Some states prevent debt collectors from actively pursuing the debt after the statute expires. And from a financial standpoint, if the statute is expired, the default and unpaid debt may soon fall off your credit history. This happens after 7 years. So I want you guys to think about all this. I'm going to put this story below because I personally believe that there are a lot of people that are about to get hit with student loan collections because of where our economy is right now. If you guys like this content and you haven't subscribed, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, I'd appreciate it. And please share this video anywhere you can, because I think a lot of people need to get really good information on loan restructuring or loan debt as it pertains to unpayment. With that being said, guys, the Economic Ninja is out.